But you said that you worked 7 jobs at one time. 7 PRN jobs, and sometimes you'd have like 10 to 15-hour days.
Regularly.
And you did that for how long?
At least a full year.
And it wasn't like, oh man, like I'm miserable, I'm exhausted. You said you actually liked.
Yeah, because I like my job, so I wouldn't do it if I didn't like it.
So it's because you liked what you did. You think that you could work 10, 15 hours a day if you didn't like what you did?
Well, I could, but I wouldn't. That's not how I would choose to spend my time.
Okay, no, and that I think is relevant, or it's relevant to what you told me when we, like, one of the first times we sat, one of the first times we met up, and you kind of just, I don't know, you made it seem like you would just walk into places that, I think you told me you walked into a restaurant and you were like, yeah, I want to work here.
Well,
a coffee shop or something.
The first time I moved to South Carolina, and I had decided I was going to move to South Carolina because I had a friend that lived there and I thought we would have a good time together. And a friend I had roomed with in college. And so I had decided I was going to move to South Carolina. And I was in a bookstore and I picked up like a little travel guide or thing, and I flipped to Columbia, South Carolina, things to do, or maybe like outdoor recreation or something like that. Whatever the category was, the first thing listed was a guide shop for river guides. And so I decided that was a great idea. I should be a river guide. But I never kayaked before. But I didn't really see that as an obstacle because I was pretty sure I'd be good at kayaking.
How old are you?
Let's see. Probably 24.
Okay.
Possibly 25. And so I moved to South Carolina, and the next day I went to the guide shop and told the lady that I wanted to be a river guide, and she asked what my experience was. And so I, explained that I had never been in a kayak before. And she sort of sent me on my way, and I was like, this is really my only plan, and I'm pretty sure I'd be great at it. And so I was a little bit pushy when I saw her, like, her way of, like, sort of getting away, I think, was saying that she had to go check out this spot where they might use as a new, like, put in on the river. And so I started to leave when she left, and then I walked over to her car and I was like, can I ride along with you? I haven't really seen anything around here before. If you're coming back here, it'd be great if I could ride along with you. And by the time we got, like, back to the shop, she was like, okay, why don't you come by on Tuesday and you can do a tag along, and you have to do like 10 tag-alongs where you're basically like just working as a volunteer kind of and learning a little bit about it, and then you can get hired as a guide. And so, yeah.
So when you said like there wasn't really a plan, like what do you mean there wasn't a plan? I mean, you're 24 years old. Like is it just like there was no plan because I didn't want a plan, or was it like other plans didn't work? Like, why would, like, 24 years old, like, a lot of people are, like, scared shitless about their future or their...
I didn't have any real, like, concerns about much of anything, I don't think. I didn't, I had graduated with a biology degree, and I knew that I didn't want to work in a lab like all my friends did, and I didn't want to, like, transition that into teaching, which was another, like, option that everyone mentioned. Yeah. So I got the degree because I liked studying biology, but then I didn't really want to do anything with it. And so I just started taking jobs that seemed fun. I worked as a nanny for a while, and that's what I had quit when I went to go be a river guide, and then I needed more money than you make as a river guide.
Yeah.
And so I walked around the block at the place where I was living. I could walk to the guide shop, and so it was nice just be able to walk back and forth. And so I walked around the block and I saw like a help wanted sign, so I became a dishwasher at a cafe when I saw that. And then when I left South Carolina, I don't remember what job I took, but I worked at the Y as a lifeguard for a while, and I had a job where I drove around delivering vehicles UPS trucks and new ambulances and stuff like that. Someone has to actually drive them to the people that bought them. So I had this job delivering vehicles around the country and all kinds of other jobs. And then I was doing that job when my aunt got sick. I was probably, well, it was I guess about 10 years ago, so I must have been like, no, couldn't have been that long ago. I must have been like 27 or something. But I was driving around the country, and everyone else in my family had like a real life and a real career and whatnot, and I was kind of being a bum, and so it was easiest for me to come home and help her. And so I did, and that's how I found out about physical therapy, was by watching her transition through all the different levels of care and get her independence back.
So when you said earlier that like you have the degree in biology and you didn't want to do anything like teaching or anything that that degree would suggest or segue into, do you think that a lot of the freedom or a lot of decisions you made as far as the river guide and the dishwasher and the truck driver, like, do you think that all of these things were allowed or available to you because you had that already like working for you? Like, did that allow like a certain freedom?
To some extent, yes, for sure. Because like, my job as a nanny, they wanted someone to homeschool their kids as part of the job, and you're probably more inclined to have someone with a degree homeschool your kids rather than a high school dropout. I mean,
not like freedoms as far as like credentials, like it opened up more for you, but like, did you feel more comfortable making these decisions, or choosing like I guess an alternative to a safer route or like a more predictable outcome? Did you feel more comfortable doing that because you had that degree already earned and like you had that in your back pocket?
I don't know that I gave it any thought in that regard at the time, but I suppose that it probably did give me a little freedom. I wasn't still chasing a degree or still trying to figure that out, or still having like, I guess, sort of like the societal pressure or the family pressure to have that.
To have a degree. So you satisfied it and then you're like, okay, it's done.
Yeah.
I got it out the way.
I completed the obligation, and then I could finally do what I wanted to do.
And you know what's crazy about that is that like I know a lot of people today who've gotten their masters in a thing or they've gotten their bachelor's in a direction and they're like, I don't know that I want to do this forever. And I'm like, wait, like what? Like you are in tens of thousands. You spent like 4, 5, 6, 7 years of school. You are in tens of thousands of dollars in debt, and on the back end of it, you're like, I don't know that I want to do. Like what kind of investment, was? I think that a lot of people feel in terms of I'm not saying that I'm perfectly articulating your thoughts towards the biology degree, but a lot of people feel like they have to do that thing. Before I can do what I want to do, and before they even realize they have some other plans or some other desires or passions, it's like those things don't activate or they don't come forth until they do that thing that they're expected to do.
I think that there are a lot of areas in life when people actively pursue things that in the end they don't really want or benefit from or need or truly desire.
Like what?
I think all kinds of people, like, you pursue relationships that aren't actually good for you.
Okay.
Pursue all kinds of things and actively take steps to, achieve certain things, but then in the end it's not really what you want, or it's not, or like it could be even financial, like if I reach this goal or buy this car or something, like it doesn't actually make you feel how you thought it would make you feel.
Yeah.
And so, but you actively pursued that, or you actively pursued a relationship that didn't produce anything good, or was negative for both people, or and I think that can be true of education as well, even though it seems like positive things. Relationships are positive things. You need cars, like all of those things can be positive, but at some point along the way it wasn't positive for you, but you actively pursued it. So I think education can be that way as well. There's a lot of family pressure depending on your situation, and a lot of other pressures that lead to those decisions that you end up taking lots of steps and sometimes loans and all kinds of things to actively pursue, and then in reality it's not what you actually wanted.
Yeah, and now you can say that, or like speaking towards that, I don't know if you said it was last year or the year before, but when you worked 7 jobs, PRN, now you're in physical therapy and you work 7 jobs, like, because of something you actually wanted to do, it wasn't something that was strenuous or like overly taxing.
Yeah. For like the 6 years prior, like everyone's talking about Friday or whatever, but Friday is the same to me as Sunday or Tuesday. Like I'm doing exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like I've made this decision. I'm exactly where I want to be. I'm doing exactly what I want to do, and I enjoy it. And so there's no like excitement about it ending. I'm happy to be here.
And I think that that's where I guess the question I'm about to pose or I'm about to ask came from, in that I was at work the other day and a couple of my patients got sent out, because their stats or whatever condition became unstable for them to remain in the facility or on site, so they got sent out, and my schedule got sliced in half. And so I kind of just that's cool, right? And just out of frustration, it's like, okay, that's cool, whatever, right? But I had a coworker ask, oh man, what are you gonna do to get off? Now you have the whole day to yourself, and you get to do this, you get to do that, and it's refreshing to just leave, huh? And I'm like, I'd rather be at work, right? Like, first of all, I didn't come out here from Houston to not work.
Yeah.
That's literally the only thing I drove out here for. Is not to find love or to make friends or to, do anything else. All those things, are great, and just, I guess, icing on the cake, whatever. But it's not my objective. My objective is to come out here and do work and to get work done. So, no, I don't want to go home, and no, I'm not happy that I get the rest of the day off, or that my schedule was sliced in half. And I kind of explained this, you're like, what? I was like, no, when you're at work, and this is my philosophy, my perspective on work, is that when you're at work, that's when you're your best self. That's when you're developing. That's when you're having to make decisions. That's when you're having to be on your toes. That's when you have to activate or be in tune with your creative side. That's when you have to be more patient and more tolerant. That's when you have to learn how to, when to speak or when to be quiet. That's when you become a leader. And, all of the things that are best about us, I feel, come about when we're working. Whether it's in private or whether it's, we're being paid, or whether it's, we're not being paid or whatever. I feel like our best selves come about while and when we're working. And so, I guess just me being on a different page with, not only, a coworker within this conversation, but just, knowing, friends who they thrive in other situations, and they're so, skilled and just awesome at other things. Do you feel like certain people are built for work? It's just this is just your thing.
I know for sure that physical therapy is exactly what I'm supposed to do.
Okay.
And I feel like there's that thing for everybody.
Mm.
Everybody can find something that they're passionate about. Mm. Maybe they can find it when they're young and know that their whole life, or maybe it takes them until they're 40 to find something they're passionate about, or 60 or 80. But everybody can have something that they're passionate about, and that ideally you can transition into something that you get paid for, but that is the goal, I suppose. But whenever you're doing that thing, that's exactly where you're supposed to be and exactly what you're supposed to be doing, I think you feel that, and you're not excited to be done with it, excited to be continuing it.
So you don't feel necessarily that there are people who are built for work and people who aren't. It's just a certain
I think everyone's built for something.
For something. There you go.
And ideally, that would be able to transition into something that would be financially viable because we do have to have money to live. But
the reason I asked you that is because all of the job capacity that you've worked in, and like just being able to work, walk into certain spaces or into certain environments, and not only be interested and not only make it happen, and thrive, but like just to make it work. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's part of who I am and like who I've worked towards being, is that no matter where I'm at, no matter what I'm doing, I want to be decent at it, and I want to to thrive, and like I feel like I can go to work all day and earn and do my best and contribute, and I can also come home and like mail postcards and like make videos and like edit photos, and then I can also take that camera and go out and do commission work if I wanted to. And I feel like I don't know. I guess there's nothing. I feel like there's nothing I can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the reason why I asked you that is because from all the things that you've done, and that you've stepped in and out of, I was like, man, it's like she must have a confidence or a perspective that there's really nothing that you've done so much. Physical therapy and just being able to just get your hands dirty and wash dishes, and then walk into the river guy situation. I've never been in a kayak before, but I'll figure it out. And all of these things. It's like what can't you do? Like I can move to this city and be, I guess, in a situation that's less than ideal, or I could, drive back and forth within the weekends, and I can work 10 to 15 hour days, and then, when things slow down, I can figure out how to stay afloat and make things work. It's just like, I don't know that everyone's built that way.
yeah, I think confidence is not a struggle of mine, which is a strength and a weakness. But I think
I like that you know that it can like about it can also be detrimental at times.
yes, I think everyone has things they're good at, and there are some things that I just had a natural knack for, or maybe a genetic gift towards, or things like that. But my parents would definitely tell you that I don't lack confidence. And so I feel like generally I don't walk into every situation thinking I'm going to be great at this or I'll be the best or whatever, but I do walk into almost every situation and think that there isn't anything that I can't figure out or that I can't learn. And so
and where would you say that that's come from? Is that like childhood, like my parents instilled that in me, or was that from these experiences that we just spoke about, like after conquering them or after moving through them, like okay, the confidence or there's nothing I can't do? Did that develop over time? Was that like when you were, of course it develops over time, but was it something that you were aware of building, or was it just like, I don't know where it came from, I read a book one day and it was just there? Like,
I think confidence in women is like a particularly interesting topic, because at some point it's usually something that women struggle with, whether it's like confidence in the way you look or confidence in a job or something. I think that like as a female, that's generally something that is a struggle at some point, and that has not been my experience. And so like I've had this conversation with a lot of female friends before, and I think that both of my parents did some things that had like a profound effect as a child. And my dad, who's, he's like 70 years old and he's from the South, and there are some stereotypes that go along with like a little bit older age and some stereotypes that go along with the South. And in some ways he fits into those, but he had 9 older sisters, and there was never a time when when I heard him say anything like negative about women or anything that couldn't be done by a woman. And so to have like a male influence constantly saying that I could do anything that I wanted to do, and then also never saying anything detrimental or negative or I guess just negative in any way about women was a really like good influence for me. And then from like my mother's perspective, like I think women have body image issues a lot, and there's nothing perfect about me at all. But I never, as a child,
or anyone.
Do what?
I said, or anyone for that matter.
Right. But I never heard my mother say anything in any way judgmental, whether good or bad, about a person's appearance.
Mm-hmm.
Like she wasn't someone that just happened to say, oh, she really needs to do something about that hair. Or like even at a wedding, as an adult, I've learned that when as everybody's filing out and you give the bride a hug, almost everyone says, oh, you look so beautiful today. Mm-hmm. I never heard my mom say that at a wedding. Like, I think, she probably said congratulations or, thanks for inviting us. Like, this was lovely. Something like that. I never heard her, like, comment on a person's appearance, whether it was a male or a female.
Yeah.
And so I think those two aspects from my parents probably, like, looking back on it now, probably did contribute to maybe an unhealthily high amount of self-confidence. But yeah, and then, I mean, sure, there's probably part of just thinking you can do whatever. I'm sure there's part of that is just maybe a personality trait, whether positive or negative, or maybe a little of both. But I think my parents are largely responsible in ways that they never considered or thought of. It's just who they were.
Yeah. I think that's cool. And yeah, I think that our work is, of course, obviously the reason why we know each other. I think that's when you learn the best and the most in people. And I think that even when it comes to love and romance, I feel like what a successful relationship could suggest or could have at the center of it is of course like the same vision, and it's not so much. I read an author. He said, all the sizzling in the background is going to get on the frying fish. That's what the sizzling is. Making us fish, salmon. All of the yeah. I don't know what I was saying. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm not trying to. Oh. But yeah, I read in a book one time, the author wrote that real love and successful relationships don't necessarily I guess coincide with what we see in the movies, and like two people just gazing at each other, and like that's what it'll be forever and ever, and forever afterwards. He said that true love is when two people share the same vision and they can look out, not at each other, not necessarily each other, because of course that's there, and that's what romance, and that's what eroticism, and that's what a lot of those other things are. But like true love is to where you guys share the same vision, you guys are able to look out in the same direction and pick up your tools and work towards the same task. And I think that as far as like our lives and realizing the best parts of people, or love and relationships and friendship, I think that it all comes down to what is our work like, and understanding your work, understanding where your contribution is, and understanding how to not only bring those parts out of yourself to get what is necessary done, but also learning how to encourage and help others develop towards. And I think that it's work. It's work that we're afraid of, and it's work that makes us tired. But I think that when you get older, you look at it from a different perspective, and it's like work is what we're here for. Work is
you spend the majority of your time doing it.
Yeah, and work is what makes us feel satisfied and fulfilled, and work is what makes us happy, and work is what keeps us waking up in the morning. And whether you want to look at it as work or not, or you're privileged enough to not have something that feels or looks or smells like something that's too heavy of a workload or whatever, it's work that we're here for, and it's work that we want. I think that I'm always looking for something to work at, something to work with, and the people who are, willing to work with me and to be patient with me as I suck before I get it down, and people who, are positive about their work and my work and our work, and, people who can be inclusive as far as